Hello and welcome to today's podcast episode. Now, today I'm going to be talking about importing, and this is mainly for those of you who have a small business and you might be hand making your products, for example, candles, and you wanting to expand, and you know that you need to get a manufacturer. You've looked in your home country and you can't find one, and you're thinking about sending your manufacturing overseas. Now, this is obviously a common thing to do, a very common business plan to set up as your business expands and grows. So I'm going to be talking a little bit about what I did with my overseas importing, how I found a manufacturer, and the process basically of what you need to do. So I'll give you a brief rundown about my own importing experience. I started my products, as you know, over 10 years ago now, and I knew straight away that because my products are soft toys, that I would not be able to manufacture them myself. I'm not a seamstress, I'm no good at sewing. So I knew straight away that I had to have a business model where I had a manufacturer. And to do this, I knew I had to go overseas to find the perfect manufacturer for my products. Very long story short, I eventually found a manufacturer in China. The way I found the manufacturer was basically a lot of research. I Googled soft toy manufacturers in China and in India, and I made a huge list of potentials. And I literally whittled my way through the list and basically brought down the number to, I think it was about 4 or 5 different factories. They were all based in China. I knew my criteria. The number one had to be they treated their staff fairly. Conditions were great for staff. They were paid fairly, treated fairly, all that kind of thing. That was number one issue for me. So I'd whittled my list down to about 4 or 5 manufacturers. And then basically what I did then was I contacted them all and opened up communications. And from that, I realized quite quickly which ones I'd be able to work with. Now, when I was starting out, I needed really small order amounts, and I suspect you're in the same position as well. So this is something really important to look out for when you're looking for a manufacturer. Make sure they're prepared to work with you as a startup and allow you to order small order runs like mine. I think my first order run all those years ago was about 100 units, which is really tiny. Obviously, I paid more per unit for that, but they allowed me to do that, which allowed me to set the business up on a shoestring, basically. So so once I found my manufacturer, that's the way I did it. I basically contacted them. One of them eventually stood out to me. They were very attentive to what I was talking about. And from that, we went into sample production, and it just went from there. And I very soon knew which manufacturer I wanted to work with. And it is the same manufacturer I work with today. So that was good. So if you want any more advice about choosing a manufacturer, then I'm absolutely happy to help on that. So yeah, once I'd got my manufacturer chosen, the next hurdle would be to import those products from China to the UK. Now, my business is based in the UK, although I now sell all around the world. But I'll talk about importing from your manufacturer to your home country. Importing from a manufacturer to an Amazon warehouse in a country that's not your home country is going to be a completely different podcast, because there's a lot more parts to that process. So for this particular podcast, we're going to be talking about importing from China to the UK, and the process to the US or whichever home country you're listening from, kind of similar. Obviously, importing to different countries has its own different quirks, and I do all, like I said, I sell in 15 countries, so I've got experience in all of them. But for the sake of this basic importing podcast, we're going to be talking about China to the UK. So the very first thing I will say to you is I was absolutely terrified the first time I did it. The first time I set the wheels in motion and started the importing process, I'd absolutely no idea what I was doing apart from the research that I'd done myself. No one told me how to do it. And it was really scary, to be honest, because I was bringing something into the country that I really didn't know how to do it properly. So me being me, I just kind of went for it, did my research and went for it. I could choose whether to send it via the ocean or whether to send it via air. Obviously, air is a lot more expensive, but it's a lot faster. I recommend you send it by the ocean. It takes about 8 weeks to get from China to the UK. And hopefully, if you've got a good manufacturer with a good working relationship, they will know the process of getting everything wrapped up, prepared from their factory, getting it on board the ship. They will book everything in for you. If they don't know how to do that, I would strongly advise that you maybe start talks with another manufacturer who do know what they're talking about, because that is a huge thing, having a manufacturer that imports constantly around the world, and they'll know all the updates, they'll know how to do it, they'll know what paperwork needs to be done. So that is my biggest tip. Before you choose your manufacturer, explain to them that you're new to importing into your home country and you might need some help along the way. That's what I did, and they were very happy to help me. So I set the wheels in motion. I asked my manufacturer to ship those first 100 units to me, and they were going to come in to the dock in Southampton. I think it was 8 weeks, 8 weeks later. And obviously when you're shipping things there, I remember one time it was actually I think it was in lockdown, and the Suez Canal was backed up with just loads and loads of shipping containers. And that caused a massive backlog for me and millions of other businesses too. And also I do remember one time when I got notification from my import agent, which I'll talk about import agents soon, saying that the ship was caught in a storm at sea and had to do an emergency dock in a random country, and that held it up by a few weeks. So there are all these little things that can hold it up if you're coming by ship, but generally it's quite smooth. So anyway, what you need to do when you are importing, you speak to your manufacturer, get them to get everything sorted, all the paperwork. There will be a few little things you need to do on paperwork, but mainly your job is going to be when it arrives in the dock of your home country, i.e. the UK. So my products on the ship, it was all great. And I knew that I needed what's called an EORI number. It's a government number basically saying that you're responsible for whatever you're importing, and here's the address, here's the email address, here's the phone number for an import agent to get hold of you. Now, an import agent is a really important part of the process. They're a company, there's many of them around, and it usually is allocated by your manufacturer. They usually have an import agent they work with. I work with one called Dayguard. They're worldwide, but they have offices in the UK, and that's who my manufacturer initially worked with, and that's who I continue to work with now, because it's always really quite smooth with them. So yeah, that's basically what you need to start first is your EORI number. Now, what happens is when that ship is coming on the ocean, when it's due to arrive in the dock, you will get notified from that import agent. They'll email you saying the dock is arriving, we see you've got a shipment on board, we need some information to clear customs here. So that is when you need to have all your paperwork ready. So you need your EORI number, you probably need your UTR number or your limited company number, however you operate, name, address, email address, telephone number, all those kind of things. And then they'll ask you if you want to clear it through customs yourself. Now, if you're an import expert, by all means do it, but I am absolutely not. So I always opt for them to do it for me. And yes, you will pay a fee, but they basically take control of everything. You sign a document saying, yes, I agree that Dayguard can submit everything on my behalf or the company's behalf. And yeah, basically you give them all the information they need, and then they will send you an email with a list of all the requirements that they need for that particular shipment. And now one thing to bear in mind, if depending on what you're importing, you might need to produce some safety certificates or that kind of thing. So again, with my example of soft toys, there's a lot of safety certificates that go with them. They don't always get asked by import agents, but you have to have them ready, because if you hold anything up in the docks in your home country, while you're faffing around getting all this information ready, you get 5 free days. And after that, it's very expensive to store your goods there day after day. So make sure before you instruct your manufacturer to ship anything that you've got everything in place that you need. I can help you with all this. I can go through what you will need to have ready and prepared, but just bear in mind that you need to have all your paperwork, all your EORI numbers, etc., ready to go, because they might be demanded by imports, which quite rightly so. So yeah, when you get that email from your shipping agent, give them all the information they require. What will happen then is the ship will come into dock, it will be unloaded in the big containers, and your section will be then put through custom clearance. Now, depending on whether your brand is known to customs, will depend how quickly it goes through. So if you're a new brand, there could be, customs could see your brand and think, right, okay, we don't know this business, let's get a bit more information. And that's when you'll need all your safety certificates or whatever it is relating to your particular product. And then what will happen then is they will all check everything. They might open one of your boxes to make sure what you're saying on the paperwork matches what's actually coming in. But your agent will do this for you. You don't physically have to be at the dock. The agent, your import agent, will do all this on your behalf, and they'll contact you if there's anything else that needs to be addressed. So yeah, that's basically it. It can be a little bit scary to do it the first few times. Like I said, it was quite scary to do it because it's just something that I've never done before, and it sounds quite a big deal, which it is. But as long as you've got your paperwork and you're not smuggling anything in or anything ridiculous like that, then it's fine. The UK want e-commerce, they want small businesses to build the economy here, so they will be helpful. They'll try and help you. I'll tell you a story about when it went wrong for me. I think it was about my 3rd or 4th time importing, so I was still very new to it, and I had a lot. I was in the thousands by then of shipping them in, and I got notified by the import agent that the ship was coming into dock, everything was going to unload. So I then sent them all the information they needed. It was all going smoothly, and then they emailed me once everything had been unloaded off the ship. They emailed me and said Trading Standards, which work closely with importing, had seized all my products. And I was like, oh, seized, that sounds really, really scary. I don't like the sound of seized at all. So basically what they said was Trading Standards had got involved. They didn't know my brand at all. And as it transpired, they had an influx of unsafe toys, not necessarily soft toys, but toys in general, being brought onto the UK and European market. So, and by unsafe, I mean products that had not been safety tested properly, i.e. like with chemical lead paint on, that kind of thing. So they'd had a bit of an influx for some reason, and this was in the run up to Christmas. So Trading Standards had made a decision to seize every single toy consignment that was coming in. So mine was included in that. So basically what happened was Trading Standards that got in touch with me and said, okay, we need to know who you are. We need to see all your safety certificates. And remember that you get 5 free days held in the dock. If Trading Standards get hold of your products and they take longer than that, you are eligible to pay the storage fees. But don't panic. Don't panic. I'll tell you the rest of the story, and then you'll see why you don't need to panic. Anyway, so Trading Standards got in touch, wanted all these different things, and they said, yeah, send us your safety certificates, which I had. So I sent them across, and they said, right, no, we're still not convinced. We don't know who your brand is. We don't know who you are. We want to take your stock, and we are going to take a few samples out of your thousands, and we are going to independently safety test them at our own facility in the UK. And I thought, oh God, that I was like, oh my goodness, that's really quite scary. Because if they found anything that didn't match with the safety certificates that I'd had done, then that was not good at all. Anyway, I was in a bit of a panic at this point. So I rung the contact at Trading Standards near Southampton, and I rung him, and basically said, look, I've got this email and I see that you're taking some of my products to do safety testing, and I'm a little bit nervous because I've never done this before and I don't really know what it all means. And he was absolutely lovely. He really, really was. He was so helpful. He said, first of all, he said, please do not panic. He explained the situation about all these toys that have come onto the market. And he said, we are basically making sure that all products that are coming onto the UK marketplace are safe for children. He said, what we need to do is we're just going to take a couple of samples. I will fast track them through, because I did explain to him that I've only got 5 free days. And he said, yeah, we understand that, and we're going to do it all before the 5 days. We will make sure you don't get fined. He basically explained to me what they were doing, why they were doing it. It wasn't necessarily targeted at me and my business. It was just a general safety thing, which actually is great, because it means that anything you buy on the market should be safe. So from that side of it, it's a really good thing. Anyway, I explained to him about the 5 free days and I didn't want to pay any storage fines. And he's like, no, okay, I understand that. That's fine. I will fast track it. So he did. And within 24 hours, he had taken some samples from my consignment boxes and he had taken them or sent them to an independent test facility in the UK, had them tested, and thank goodness they all passed the test, flying colours, and I got an extra safety certificate, which was brilliant. And he rung me back and said, just let you know, it's all passed, and I've spoken to you. I can see that, I can tell that you're a person of integrity and your business is a proper business. You're not trying to bring anything trashy onto the market. And he said, so everything will be cleared and passed through customs. And since then, actually, I've not had any problems coming through customs at all. I've had a few requests for paperwork, as in safety certificates, but nothing. So I think that what's happened is because I've been through that process, they know that anything that comes in from my brand Stalklings should be okay. And every now and again, they'll do a spot check. Now, with all the safety things, just as a side note, Amazon also do their own safety testing. So if you're buying toys from Amazon, they not only get safety tested by the manufacturer, they get checked by import and customs in the country that you're shipping into. They can also get tested by trading standards, and then they do get checked by Amazon. So that there's 4 steps of checking that your products comply to all the regulations. So that's pretty good. That's actually really good, and it makes you quite comfortable about buying toys online. And that's just a side note. So back to the story. So yeah, everything was cleared, it all came through and everything was fine. But that initial fear of they've seized my product is what really, really terrified me. But I'm telling you this story because you don't need to be terrified about it. A phone call is all it took for me to speak to Trading Standards and explain that I was a little bit terrified. He put me at ease straight away. He said, if you've got a good product, you've got nothing to worry about at all. We're just checking. And he was right. And with regard to the fines, if the 5-day fine without paying any fines for storage, explain that to them and just say, look, my import agent will only hold my stock in the warehouse for 5 days. So can we please work together really quickly? And they're there to work with you. Like the chap said to me, I'm here to help your business. I want nothing but to help your business get your products onto market so you can start selling them. And he was true to his word, actually. He was absolutely right. So all those things put together, please don't be afraid to think about importing and getting your products manufactured overseas. Once you've done it a few times, it becomes just any other logistical part of your business. And there will be hiccups along the way, like any other part of your business. But what I want you to take from this is that you don't have to be afraid to import things. If you want to go in a bit more detail or have someone walk you through the first few times you do it, absolutely get an expert in to do that. I do coach some businesses on just a bit of hand holding for the first few times, basically, like, yeah, do this. It's quite a useful skill to have in business, and particularly if you want to expand your business and you know you're not going to be able to manufacture everything yourself if you're handmade, or if you know you need to manufacture cheaper overseas. So yeah, my main takeaway for you is don't be afraid to try importing. And if you really are afraid, import a really small amount, because what will happen is if your products get seized and they aren't safety tested, for example, if they're toys, they will just get disposed of, and you will lose the money that you would have forked out for those products. Obviously, if you're deliberately bringing, unsafe things to market, then that's not a good thing all around anyway. But just take from this that you don't need to be afraid to try importing at all. Just do it and see what happens, because if you can get your products manufactured overseas for cheaper and you've got the quality right, you've got a great manufacturer, it can be a real game changer for your business, definitely. So again, thank you so much for listening. And if you know anybody or any small business who might benefit from hearing about my import escapades or want a bit of extra advice, then please let them know about my podcast. And you can find me at hello-dream.co.uk. And I'm on Instagram as well. It's dreamers_should. It's my handle. Find me there. And thank you again for listening. Please subscribe and have a lovely, lovely day.